Right, I've just whammed through my finger yesterday with a blade trying to cut sellotape. Not all I can say about that. Given myself an awesome stitch job, as you can see. I've done my best with it. We'll see what happens. This is an ICS MP5. It's got a Perrin and a Perrin clicker in it, I believe. His mate's done the work to it. He said it fires about 30 rounds and stops, and the range and accuracy is terrible. So, let's have a look, shall we? I mean, I can't get to the battery wires. I don't know why he didn't put them to the bottom, but okay. Oh! Yeah, all right, okay. That drives me mental. It's one of those sounds that sends sweats up my cunt. That looks a little bit like a cut down barrel to me. If you do it right, if you have the ability, that's not a problem. I think I'm going to use this today, I've got a feeling. Some rust on it. There's no screw through there. There's air seal, scratches to the gearbox, loads of grease, rusty gears. Oof. That's fucked. That's completely fucked. That's completely free spinning. There's no sense gluing in bushings if you haven't shimmed the gearbox properly and you haven't built it properly. What's the point? Why did you bother? So the Perrin's been cracked into. There's an actual crack in it from... You can see where he's taken some of those away. Some of the rough bits. He hasn't seen that one. And that is the one that's just caused the problem. Is that why it doesn't work in semi? You can see, look. Right there. Hopefully his Perrin will still work. I mean, for all I know, the factory scratched that out. Because they're all done on the other side of the casing as well. Alright, well, the piston's got too much damage on these teeth back here. think that's salvageable. That's very cracked, so I'm not going to use that. This cylinder is scratched all the way down here and here. Yeah, at the front. Alright, let's fuck that one. Ugh. Yeah, it's got the wrong screw in it. Okay, gears. I'm going to see if I can use these. They should be fine. We'll see. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Turns out the bushings were not glued in. But if you look at where the bushing holes are, you can see they're standing up very slightly. The bushings were definitely really stamped in hard. Now that's caused the outer casing to bow slightly, and it's left me with a gearbox casing that moves. Even when I put a screw in the back and in the front, so one here, one at the back, it bows at the front, and it's the front that's bowed, not the back. So that doesn't explain it. I can't figure out why that's happening right now. I've just got to figure it out. I don't want to change his casing if I don't have to, but I am struggling to find a reason for that. So this just kind of goes back to why I don't glue in bushings. And that is that, let's be a little bit more delicate than normal. If you've got a CNC'd retro arms gearbox casing or a gate CNC'd casing, you can basically trust that it's going to be a tighter tolerance in certain places. So you could technically, glue your bushings in. When the casing is this cheap, and I'm going to assume it is the factory that's removed all these burrs with a screwdriver, I just don't think the person who did the repairs to this the first time did that. The evidence doesn't point that way. There's no sense gluing them in because this is so unbelievably cheap. It's not going to be as precise as what you'd normally find. So if I were to take one of these, if this is a very tight fit, and it goes in, it's the only way it can go in. These are very slightly looser, and as just to make my life easier shimming, really, I've put a tiny amount on 1/4 of the outside of thread lock, so that I can then just have these not drop out while I'm shimming. Now, if I were to super glue those in place, and I've been through this before, if this is not all equal, and the gearbox has any kind of differences, ignore the fact that it's warped. If you think about any differences that could be occurring, so if this one is a fraction of mil too low compared to the other one, if this gearbox side did not come out the same batch as this gearbox side, there's no super glue in the world that's going to be able to make that perfectly straight. And you are guessing that it's straight. And yes, there are tools to help you with that, but again, if the gearbox casing is cheap, there is no sense gluing them in. It doesn't make any sense. There's no point doing it. We are not talking about machinery, and this is what everyone comments on my channel when I mention this. When you're dealing with machinery that is, precision £1 million machines for doing holes in a very particular thing of a £1 million machine, which is a part that's going to go into another £1 million machine, then yeah, sure, that's going to be precise enough that you might want to glue it. But when it's so off spec and so cheap, as in Airsoft parts, it doesn't make any sense to glue it. It's not going to be any worse than if you don't glue it, and by gluing it, you can make it worse. It doesn't make any logical sense to do so. This shit is too cheap to warrant it. So it feeds, it fires, but the range and accuracy is terrible. I wonder why. Whether he likes it or not, that shit's coming out, because it's fuck. Look at that shit. It's sellotaped on. Just fuck off with your faddy shit. I mean, what's the fucking point? It's just so shit. So the gun was finished. I was happy with it. It was doing its thing. I'd removed material from inside of here. I've not quite finished making it look pretty again, because I do like to make things look pretty once I've modified it to fit. Then the bombshell was dropped and he wants to put a warhead motor in there, which is fine by me because I'll make money, but it's preferable that things get left alone when I'm finished because now I've got to fucking do it all again. But that's just me. I take the stitches out of my finger. That was amusing. Didn't really want to do that, but I did. I have concluded these are definitely not the original wires or connectors, sorry, for the Perrin. They are not the originals because these are brass and they are not on there the way that I'd see them normally from factory. But it's not the end of the world. This build wasn't great, but it's still better than some shit I get sent over. Just because it sounds good doesn't mean it's the best build, and just because it sounds bad doesn't mean it's not going to last for a very long time. Sadly, that's the world we live in. I wish we didn't, but we do. I've built guns that sound a little bit noisier than I wanted them to, but there was nothing I could do to reduce it, but they ran for years and years and years. And likewise, I've done guns that sound smooth as butter, and for one reason or another, they stuff it. And again, there's no rhyme or reason. It just happens. Nothing you can do about it. The trigger is only able to activate when it's at its fullmost travel, like right the way back. That's not good enough for me. I spoke to the owner and said, right, do you... Oh, I extended the wires as well. Do you want me to leave it like that and be happy? And he said, well, if it's not going to cause any problems, I'm happy with it. You know, I'm fully aware MP5 triggers can be a little bit long, but I wasn't entirely thrilled. So I am going back in to make sure that trigger can come back as far as it needs to and over travel so I can make it reset properly. So I've got to remove a bit of material from the back of the trigger, basically, because it's not the Perrin doing it. It is literally just the trigger. I think I want to take a little smither off. A smither again, that is the second time I've done a fucking smither. Smithers, what the fuck are you doing? Fuck off, you cunt. Get off there. Taking a smidgen off of there as well, but that is only so I don't have to take too much off the trigger. So I don't have another trigger for one of these, but I do have more Perrins and clickers. And that should do it. I'm also going to add a couple of extra rings to here to bump the power very slightly. Again, just bumping it by a smither. A smither? A fucking smither. That's you in there like that. You down there like that. Looking for anything broken. There's nothing broken. Pop you on, pop you out, pop you out. Done. I fucking love these clips. Sometimes I need one, sometimes I need 3 or 4, but they're fucking awesome. They really do speed things up. I should do that in a video. Things you really do want if you want to do airsoft tech work in any sensible time. When I first started out, I didn't want to spend any money on tools whatsoever, so I only work at places that had their own tools. And I realised very quickly that if you spend the money on the tools, the outlay, okay, no one likes putting an outlay there, but if you're going to take this fucking shit seriously, use the correct tools. It just makes sense. Right. I think that's better. I honestly can't quite tell yet. You can see I've covered the wires already with heat shrink. Right then, there it is. All done. 1.1 joule. I'm happy with 1.1 joule. As I say to everybody, when they say what brand of ammo, what weight of ammo, well, you decide what you think feeds and flies best with your mags. Only you could decide that. If you set it for .2s, you're going to fuck all range and accuracy. 2.5 is your minimum, but it's whatever you think goes furthest and straightest. Plus, it's an MP5. It's got a PDI barrel in it, and that's just fucking overkill. That is not going to improve this build at all. The standard barrel would have been absolutely fine in a short barrel gun like this. It really would have been, so. Well happy. Once again, with the technology we have now, we don't need fucking DSGs and we don't need all the other garbage. That stuff is long dead. You just don't need it anymore. You don't need it. Right, all this shit is going in the bin, which is a fucking pity. There we go. Sing everybody if you see my balls, they're big and salty and brown. If you ever need a quick pick me up, just stick my balls in your mouth. Suck on my chocolate salty balls. You put them in your mouth and suck them. Suck on my chocolate salty balls. They're packed full of vitamins. High fiber, so suck on my balls.